Welcome everyone in this new live development video about building an auto battle game. In this video, we're going to continue developing our ability system, and that means the next step is we want to see a print appear on the screen when the mana of our unit is full, using the built-in trigger, the system built-in the ability system, which is the trigger system. Because we could do that easily by just binding ourselves to the stats notify dispatcher of the stat manager, but we don't want to do that. We want that to be tied to the trigger system. So how are we going to do this? Well, we've already been creating some stuff in the previous video when I said that we took some advance. So event trigger and not that trigger source. Ability system, the ability manager is going to have a list of you trigger alive, and it's going to listen to them when they trigger. So we can open that up real quick. Add a new dispatcher, dispatch on trigger, and it's only going to return itself as a trigger. So this is going to hold the ability responsible for spawning that, the type of source, and it's also going to hold the index of trigger. So I'll show you that or in a moment. So the index, what that is, well, in case of event triggers, for instance, we have a bunch of ability events, and ability events are composed of so that's not for that. I shouldn't have added and removed stuff from here. So if we check at what are we going to check? So for instance, oh yeah, data. In here, we can have several triggers, and we need to know which trigger of that ability triggered, and that's the index of that board, of that array. So this is the index. This is going to be exposed on spawn, like the source type and the source reference. And I'm checking real quick if it needs to hold other things. Yeah, it needs to hold the stat manager of the entity that trigger is watching. And we're going to call that watched manager. And we're going to say that this is a stat manager. This is going to be our ability manager. I'm wondering. It's going to check watched ability manager, and we're gonna have a watched stat manager. Everything is going to be exposed on spawn. We don't want that to be in components, but it's automatically added there. So we're gonna create a trigger. So for instance, in our ability manager, when we create an active ability, we need the row. We need to break, and we want to get the trigger, and we're going to record that trigger. This is going to have two parameters, a trigger and a source, which is going to be source reference. Yeah. We want objects here. We want an object ref in source, in trigger. I think we'll have source trigger as well. I think we need to rename that trigger source. No, that's it. In source type. What else do we need? We'll see what else do we need. Construct object. From class, we want a trigger. Outer, this is going to be the outer. We're constructing a trigger. The source is going to be that. The type is going to be it. The index, we know it's 0. No, we don't know it's 0. We need to pass this, I think. If we don't use a custom trigger, we're going to create a base trigger. So trigger are going to need their informations. It's going to be exposed on spawn. We will need to give it information which are contained in here. Maybe we can do something like this. Not like this. Like this. We're gonna watch the owner for now. So we're gonna pass our owner stat manager and ability manager. And we're gonna build a little logic to do that. Oh, I need to shut the window real quick. Get owning unit. This is going to return a unit. A return value. This is gonna say get owner casts to units. And we're going to return that. And if not, we're not. So when we record a trigger, we want to get the stat manager and we want to get the ability manager. Oh, I forgot to modify in trigger. This should check for a stat manager. It didn't refresh that. We're gonna watch these things. we're going to pass along the trigger. And we'll need to use this when we're inside that. And we need a new event here on construct. We're going to call them on begin play. Yeah, we're going to call this on begin play. Whenever we construct that, we're going to call on begin play of that trigger. Since we added it to the auto battler object, and since the trigger is a child of auto battler object, we can call on begin play on the trigger. So we want to override on begin play. What do we do here? Yeah, we don't want to do anything. We don't want to call the parent. We want to break the trigger. And if it is on ability ready, then what are we going to do? We're going to grab the watched stat manager. We're going, we're going to create some simple dispatchers here, which are going to be called when a stat is empty or full. Dispatch on stat empty. Dispatch on stat full. On stat empty is just going to return a stat. That stat is empty. Empty stat. On stat full, we're going to return the value here. Full stat in value. And when we set a stat, we're going to break. If both are equal, we're going to call on stat full of that stat with that value. If not, if current value is equal to 0, then we're going to call on stat empty using that stat. We created simple dispatcher in order for us to retrieve them here in a much easier way. Bind stat full. Create event. And what are we going to call? We're going to have a function here called onStatFull. I think it's just gonna, yeah, I think it's just gonna retrieve this. We want a stat and we want a float. Full stat and in value. On stat full, we want to bind ourselves to this. And if this is mana, we're going to call on trigger. So this is called when the watched stat manager mana is full. So in here, we created a trigger and we want to bind ourselves on trigger event. I mean, on trigger dispatch, on trigger. I mean, how could we call that? On trigger valid? We're just gonna call that on trigger for now, and it's gonna take a U trigger. We're gonna create an event here using on trigger, which we just created. So when we create a trigger, we say that when this trigger calls its on dispatch on trigger event, that function is going to be called. And that's where we want it to be, because in here, if we print something, do we have, I think we have, oh, I didn't want it. I think we have another one. We removed it, I think, maybe. So we want to see a print when the stat is empty. When the mana is full. Is anyone gonna fill his mana? No. Draw. Finish. I think they load their mana pretty fast. Maybe they. Oh yeah, we divided that value. I remember that. Where did we put that already? I think it's in the BP unit. When we deal damage, we generate mana. Attack, deal damage, we generate mana here. Yeah, we're just gonna generate like that, like we did before. Mana based on the amount of damage we deal. And we didn't have any print. Neither did we have errors. So this works, we know it does. We're setting this. We reach the max value, which we'll check if we do. We're gonna have another, we won't. Another stat category, print category I was gonna say, but we won't. So yeah, else is full. Else is full. Yeah, when the stat is full, we get mana, and we get it over and over. We get it over and over because we fill it again. So we have to check before setting the stat. We have to check if the previous value is different from the new one. This is not equal to that, or this is not equal to that. And I think we won't be receiving, this way we won't be spammed with hello world when it comes to mana. When I press play, we'll receive them again because these are different units than the units we use in the other battlefield. Yep, max mana. We keep. I think we were still receiving it. We'll just do something real quick. When we take damage, we take only 1 damage. Max mana. Oh yeah, we do not receive that anymore, so that's fine. We're gonna draw. Yep. So this is properly called. So is that called? Doesn't, oh yeah, I'm dumb. Maybe it's cold. It's just that we're not, yeah, I think it's cold. I will print both, but first we'll go there. Go there. Oh yeah, we should be printing ability. So it doesn't trigger. Does that trigger? If not, it means this is the issue here. The stat manager works. Yeah, but this doesn't. Because we haven't said that. We just haven't said that the ability triggers when we are ready. The code, the programming was likely working. It was just the data table that was wrong. Apparently not. So that ability triggers on ability ready. Watched entity, we're watching the owner. We're not using trigger chains. Well, we'll check how it goes. We got a trigger here. I didn't want to do that. On begin play, we're binding ourselves. So is the trigger? We'll print this. I think it should have been printed here. I can't get the context here. It should have been printed here. Okay, are we even calling this? Okay. I'm sure you must be kinda depressed right now. Sorry. I'm really sorry. The index is 0, source type, yep. And the source is that active ability. Yeah, sounds like it's working a bit better. So we are doing this. Can get rid of that, and we want on stat full is gonna trigger. This is gonna trigger that, and in here we want the print when the mana is full. Else is full. It shouldn't have printed anything. Mana full. Mana full. It triggered. I'm not sure why we've seen a print. Oh yeah. Okay. We saw a print because when we create the mana stat of the combat unit, it's full, so it triggers that. It shouldn't be an issue right now. We're just gonna create, let's see if we can create abilities. Before creating stats in the activate unit function of the units. If we do this, I think we won't have. So we have the print of the else, but I think that here we won't have the print. Okay, we do have the print of the mana. Oh yeah, that's just because it's the previous binding, because we never unbound that. So when this dies, what do we want to do? We want to unbind all event from our trigger. Or not. In any case, seems to be working fine. We received that mana full event, that ability ready event. So I think we can move on to the next part of the ability system. Of course, we're going to modify most of the things we are doing right now. The trigger is really not going to look like this, but it's a step forward. So hope you guys enjoyed that video and hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.